Today, we're taking a look into the mind of one of the best players in competitive Halo. I'm analyzing both his micro and macro decision-making over an entire 8-minute gameplay. A near flawless gameplay where he goes 30, 15, and 1 at champion-ranked matchmaking with Naded on the other team. If you haven't seen this gameplay, you better watch it. It's got like 40,000 views. I've linked it in the description. Make sure to sub to Frosty and show your support as well. And if you have seen it, great, because this analysis assumes that you've seen it already. So let's jump right in. How did he go 30, 15, and 1? We're going to find out. First up, listen to this quote from Frosty, the man speaks the truth.
Like, it doesn't matter what rank you are, but it just matters that you're improving. Just every single game, you got to realize your mistakes.
Doesn't matter what rank you are, it just matters that you're improving. Every single game, you need to realize your mistakes. That is so true and so important, not only for Halo 5, but every single video game. If you want to play like Frosty, stop focusing on your rank. All that says is that you have a lot of wins, you have a lot of playtime. It doesn't necessarily mean you're a great player. Instead, focus on your self-improvement. Focus on your mistakes. Where are you making mistakes? The more mistakes that you recognize, the faster you recognize those mistakes, the better you can get at this game, because ideally, you're going to start trying to fix those mistakes and play your best, most flawless Halo 5. Did you lose a gunfight? Why did you lose that gunfight? Were you not positioned properly? Was your reticle not positioned properly? Did you choke? At what point did you choke in the gunfight? Did you choke at the end of the gunfight? You missed your shots? Why did you miss your shots? Is your finger slipping off the right stick? Did you not get to a power position fast enough? Why? Did you miss a jump? Right? So pay attention to certain areas where you might be making a mistake, and the faster you recognize that, and the faster you actively start to fix those mistakes, the better you're going to get at this game. All rank says is that you have wins and playtime. Those ranks, those will come the better that you get at your own self-improvement, your own individual skill. Focus on that first, the rank comes next. That is how you take on the mindset of somebody like Frosty. All right, let's take a look at the gameplay. If you want to start a match strong, you need a good starting strat. So let's see what Frosty does off the rip. Right off the start here, he's going to sprint down cafe ramp, maintain that sprint forward, jump, thrust slide on contact with the floor. He can then jump up to top mid, grab the camo, thrust away at the same time. That's a great starting strat. He got camo. He got away with his life. So let's take a look at that starting strat one more time and find out what exactly he did here. So sprinting down cafe ramp, notice how he sprints nice and wide here to set himself up for this thrust slide. You need to line it up perfectly here. Remember how I said you can thrust slide out of the air on contact with the floor? The biggest thing is that you maintain that sprint forward beforehand. So you can see he's sprinting, jumps with sprint, still maintain forward. He's now going to thrust, so the thrust connects with the floor, and then immediately slide jump so that you can fly all the way across over to top mid. So that's a great way to start off on this map, thrust sliding off that edge right there. And remember, once you thrust slide, you burn your thrust. So take your time getting up to top mid and line up the time that you grab camo with the time that your thrust comes back. You don't want to be caught on this platform grabbing camo without a thrust in your back pocket. So Frosty does that right there. Excellent use of that second thrust to grab camo, get away. Now let's take a look at the next 10 seconds here and see what he does. So he's going to jump over to the sign, use the sign to get up to S4. Now he has the high ground. From this position, Frosty, noticing that bottom mid is being capped, instead of giving up the high ground, he's going to maintain this elevation, toss some nades, do some chip damage, follow up with the beautiful shots to take out Dab, and cut off the second player on the top of the lift. With the beatdown, back up, beatdown again, drop down, clamber back up, and thrust away just to get away just in time to survive. Now there's a lot that Frosty did there that I want to point out, so we're going to go back and take a look. Grabs the camo, so from here, he has the camo on top mid. Babe is getting nest. There's two players behind him that are applying pressure to the players pushing into bottom mid. Now it's smart that Frosty keeps his high ground here, and you'll see why in a second. He's going to jump over to the sign. From this sign, the biggest thing that you want to pay attention to is that there's a wall. There's like a roof coming out of the wall here. If you jump straight up, you are going to bump your head on this roof right here. So make sure that if you're on the sign, you tap away on the control stick, the left stick, really quickly and really lightly, just enough to displace yourself far away from the wall so you don't bump your head, but you're still in range to clamber. So pay attention to that if you're going to clamber up on this spot right here, that you could hit your head, unless you're going right on the edge over here where there isn't a wall, you can jump straight up. So just be aware of little nuances like that. Frosty now in the high ground. It's smart that he has this high ground. One of his teammates went down in this fight. Is a 2v1 scenario. If Frosty drops down there, he'd be getting right in the center of these two players who are currently capping bottom mid. So instead, he's going for the patient play. He's not going to chase these guys. He's going to maintain the high ground, toss these his nades, do the chip damage that he needs, hits this guy just enough to follow up with 2 nice shots. So patient play from Frosty. And instead of chasing this guy, he's predicting where he's going to go. A lot of this comes down to prediction. A lot of Frosty's plays is just predicting what players are going to do. This guy's going to come up the lift. Now Frosty making a second prediction here. He thinks that he did enough damage with the nade that he threw to finish this guy off with a single melee. But he actually did no damage at all. So this is a bit of a mistake on Frosty's prediction, but his follow-up is perfect. Watch this. Does the melee, backs up, melees again, clambers up, takes these shots, but still escapes with a thrust at the end. And the biggest thing, the most important reason why he survived is because he saved his thrust as long as possible. In this scenario, he hits the opponent with a melee, realizes that the opponent still has health left. He does not thrust immediately. So many people, upon hitting a melee, will thrust away immediately, and that is a problem. You burn a vital lifeline by thrusting away immediately. Instead, understand that you have the advantage in this situation. Hit your melee, back up with the left stick, and put some distance between yourself and the opponent, and wait and see what he does. That's what Frosty does. Backs up, this guy follows up with a melee, so Frosty knows that he can instantly melee him back with the easy double beatdown to take him out right there. So all Frosty did was just play to his advantage. Back up with the left stick, wait to see what the opponent does, follow up accordingly with a melee. There's no way he's going to get his second melee out before you get your second melee out because he hit him first. So easy double beatdown for Frosty. He still has his thrust, so when he comes up here, the moment he sees this player, thrusts away, escapes with his life. That is crazy, a crazy scenario. If you burned your thrust, you'd be completely dead, but Frosty maintaining his life with the camo. Huge play. If you want to play like Frosty, you got to learn to shoot like Frosty as well, and this next sequence is a perfect example of right stick versus left stick aim. Check out this 5, pushing up right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful shots, taking out that player. Back up to the lift now, the second player on the cafe ramp. 1, 2, 3, 4. Beautiful shots, deleting both players off the map, and like I said, right stick versus left stick aim. This first scenario is a perfect example of right stick aim. We're going to drop it down to 0.25 speed, and watch all 5 of these flicks are very decisive, very deliberate flicks. There's no extra unnecessary right stick movement. Down to the left, over to the right for 3, back over to the left for 4, and then uppercut for 5, taking him out with that upward swing. Every single right stick flick is a tiny little flick. There's no pegging happening on the right stick. The right stick is not hitting the edge of the controller. Instead, you're keeping it relatively centered, and in between every shot is dead space. You let that control stick return to neutral, and then confirm, focus on that opponent with your eyes, and confirm where he is, confirm where your reticle is relative to where he is, and make that one confident, decisive flick. So hit the shot, dead space, hit the shot, dead space, hit the shot, dead space, hit the shot, right? Every single flick is a tiny little flick, and in between you're resetting that right stick to neutral. You're not doing extra unnecessary movements. It's like throwing punches in a fighting game. Everything is deliberate, is confident. The next one right here is predominantly left stick. In a scenario like this, when a player is so far away, it's very hard to confidently flick that right stick without over flicking. So instead, you can use your left stick to help hit these shots more effectively. He zooms in. Now he lands the second shot. The only right stick flick he does is about right here, just to reposition, and then watch this left stick movement. Moves to the right, following the player with the shots at the same time, barely moving the right stick at all. That's predominantly left stick because the player is so far away. Just strafe with him, maintain that reticle, focus on the opponent, and look at moving to the right while the player moves to the right as well. He can land those shots beautifully, taking out those players. Now take a look at the radar. This is something you should be doing in between slays to gain awareness. There's 2 players right beside Frosty. We got another player either top, mid, or yard. What Frosty knows for sure is he doesn't need to be in nest. You don't need 3 players bunched up in nest. You ideally want to be expanded, applying pressure from multiple angles, maintaining control over the map. And Frosty knows that, so he's going to let this teammate cap. Let's see what he does. Sprinting, thrust sliding forward. There's a player on top mid. He's going to avoid this player and try to jump up here. I'll explain how this jump works in a second. Getting up here, pushing up onto the light rifle. He'll go through the light hull tunnel, apply the final shots into naded, taking him out, and now he's going to do something very smart, sprinting immediately back to nest. 2 of his teammates down, but from this position, he can cut off these players. Beautiful shots into this player to take him out, noticing naded, backing away with the thrust immediately, and then he can re-pressure from a different angle, taking out naded with the beautiful shots from S4, now dropping down, firing shots into his second player, and landing that kill for the double. Frosty doing a great job, maintaining awareness and hitting the shots, making the plays that he needs to. So let's go back and see how he made this work. So 2 players in nest. He's going to let his teammate cap nest. You don't need to ball up in one location. Maintain control. Frosty has camo. He wants to have that control as fast as he can. So sprinting thrust sliding forward. There's a player on top mid. He's going to use this jump to try to get out of here. Now, the one thing you need to notice about this jump here is pay attention to the fact that there's a lip on the floor. If you push your body into the wall here, it'll raise you up just a tiny bit. There's a little point of elevation. It'll raise you up, jump, hold, crouch, and you can clamber up and get out of this spot. If you're in trouble, somebody's tossing nades at you, remember, you can push your body against the wall, jump, hold, crouch, you can get out of here immediately. This is very important to keep in mind. So Frosty missing it the first time, pushing his body against the wall, jump, hold, crouch, you can clamber up. Now he's going to push up on yard, help his teammate apply the final shots, taking out naded, and now he's going to make a very smart high awareness play. You'll see on the map, look at that, 2 teammates are dead, both on either dip, garbage truck, bottom mid. In that area of the map, we know the players are spawning in cafe and applying that pressure to take them out. So Frosty can make a good prediction that they're going to go to nest because they just capped yard, and these teammates, in their minds, having slayed these players who were protecting nest, it makes more sense to fly to nest and control nest, and from there you can start to control the rest of the map. So Frosty wants to stop that from happening, and he's going to beat them to the punch here. He can immediately sprint over and make sure he gets there first and then line up that reticle. Notice how he's putting his reticle in a position where he thinks the opponent might be so that he's already prepared, as prepared as he can be, so he can fire these shots. Now, lands the nice shots on that player. He gets shot at by naded. Now, this is smart. He immediately dips. In a scenario like this, a player like naded is amazing, and Frosty coming out of this scenario with half shields, it would be dumb to pressure this guy immediately and try to win that fight. So instead, dip out when you know you can and take the battle from another angle. And watch Frosty's use of his reticle positioning here. This is so important. He is scanning the map. He is looking for where naded might be, trying to predict. If naded went back to hotel, look how his reticle's lining up on the bottom of hotel here. He's preparing. Like if somebody's coming out of hotel, if somebody's backing up to hotel, Frosty is ready for that. And then noticing naded on the garbage truck, he can now turn his focus. So reticle placement is so huge, and have that prediction, that awareness, so that you're prepared as you can be to hit these shots as early as possible. Takes him out, thrusts his stay on S4, drops down. Now this is great as well, maintaining his patience, taking his time. You miss a shot, he missed his shot, he overflicked his reticle. Just wait a second, reposition yourself, land the shots that you need to so that you can get that kill. And notice where Frosty backs up to. He backs up to this point and then stands still. This is a great position to be standing because he's blocking the visual sight line from cafe. Players, if they spawn cafe, they can't see him immediately. They'd be forced to throw a nade or something else to try to attack him. So it's smart that Frosty positions himself here from a safe spot, applies the pressure that he needs to, takes out that player. Once again, Frosty just got 2 slays. So the next thing on his mind is, where are my teammates? Where is the enemy team going to spawn? And how can I put myself in the best possible position to take advantage of those spawns? And the spawns are pretty simple on this map. You've got players, it's kind of like a hockey rink. They spawn in the upper and lower hemispheres of that rink. You've got players that spawn in cafe, spawn in hotel, spawn behind Frosty on the bottom of the lift. And then you have on the other side, you've got the back of tram, you've got above the ramp going down to driveway, you've got the staircase going up to yard, you've got the loop area. So that general area. And we know from this position right here that this area is accounted for. They just got 2 slays here. You got Babe and Dip. Players are probably not going to spawn in cafe. Where are your teammates not located? They're not located in tram. You got 1 bottom mid. You can see that tram and loop is completely open. And because it's completely open, it's pretty obvious the players are going to spawn there. So Frosty, knowing that, he's going to push up, apply pressure with his teammates here, sprint, slide jump up to market, and then immediately thrust away to escape with his life. Really smart play from Frosty, going back up to top mid, noticing a player on bottom mid. He can apply pressure, wait for the thrust, follow up with a shot, take him out with the perfect shots, continue to apply pressure, and land another double kill. And he's thinking about spawns once again. He's knowing that players spawning up in the tram side of the map. We'll talk about this in the analysis. Jumping up to top mid, he can apply pressure from top mid, staying alive, dodging some crazy nades that fly by. He can jump up and take a wide route here going up on this area from loop. He can get behind this opposing player and drop down with a beautiful back smack, taking him out. And from this position, he can go over and cap yard. So Frosty's done a lot of amazing things in this play that we're all going to take a look at. In this scenario, player pushing down driveway, hiding behind Prius, Frosty's going to take advantage of his teammates where they're located and use them to apply pressure and stay alive. This is very smart from Frosty. You got 1 teammate bottom mid. You got another teammate. This is the important one. Babe is right above him on big door. And you can also see the icon is faded on the radar to let him know that the player is above him. Now, Frosty knows that if he pushes up into market, he can hold an angle here where he can apply pressure to the Prius, but he also has help from Babe providing pressure and providing a distraction at the same time. So it's a smart push, slide jumping through these arches, landing on market, but he always makes sure to position himself in an area where he has an easily available exit strategy. While he applies this pressure, he's strafing backwards. He had saved his thrust so that when he goes down to one shot just like this, he can thrust away with his life and stay alive here and dip. Now his teammate has gone down. Frosty immediately jumping up to top mid. A little bit risky. You can see there's a player top mid here, but he's trying to take advantage of immediately pressuring back out while players think that he's going back down to hide. He's trying to pressure back out immediately from a different angle, and this is risky, but it pays off. You can see there's a player down here, and this is a perfect example of staying patient and predicting what your opponent is going to do next. Pay attention to what resources your opponent has available. In this situation, Frosty has the clear advantage. He's hit him 4 times. Instead of thrusting, instead of getting too close and letting this player make a play on you, just hold your ground and remember that this player can also try to thrust away. Knowing that, you can just maintain your position right here and let them thrust away. Let them make that decision and then follow up accordingly. So he lets the guy thrust and then hits him with that beautiful shot. Just knowing what your opponent is capable of and using that to make more accurate decisions and predictions about what they're going to do next. Frosty makes a patient play, lands the shots on the second player to take out this player as well, jumping up. He can land these nice shots, kill him as well. Those quick little right stick flicks that he needed to hit those shots. That comes with a lot of practice. Even grabbing the ammo, Frosty paying attention to the fact that he has 21 shots here. He grabs the ammo on the floor. There was a pistol on the floor there. And now that you got these kills, there's a brief moment of quiet, right? These players are dead. His teammates are dead here too. Where is the enemy team spawning? Once again, you can see Babe has spawned up on the hotel side or maybe in cafe, pushed down the ramp. And so once again, you can make a prediction that players are probably spawning in tram, spawning in loop. And Frosty, he's not really in a position to run himself over to tram. Instead, it's best that he takes a high ground position where he can apply pressure and be ready for that loop spawn. So it's very smart from Frosty with a killing frenzy at this point. He's going to get up to top mid. Now there's 2 main ways to get up to top mid from here. The first one, if I just back it up, he's going to start with what I like to call a short hop, where he's going to crouch, and while crouching, holding crouch, you can jump right after. By doing that, it lowers the peak height of your jump. You get a lower jump, and you can hit the surface of this windshield just a little bit faster. So he holds crouch, gets a nice short hop, just like Smash Bros, jumping up to that windshield, and then from here, he's going to jump, hold crouch to get up to the sign, and then jump back up, and he's up on top mid. The other way to get to top mid would be to hold crouch, jump up to the windshield, and then from there, you can jump off the windshield out to the right just a tiny bit and clamber the green ledge right above his head. As long as you're holding crouch, holding clamber, you can clamber right up onto this ledge, either jumping backwards or to the right, depending on which direction you're facing. So now he's on top mid, noticing players are spawning up on loop. They took the glass position here. He gets knocked down. He throws these nades. These nades are crazy, and this, I think it's lag. I don't really know how to explain how this happens, but I think it's like when you're lagging, sometimes you press the left trigger and you toss 2 nades simultaneously, and I don't really know how to explain how that happens, but Frosty notices it too. He's like, holy shit, did you see those nades? They fly right past him, narrowly avoids it. He makes the smart decision to go for the wide play here. Remember, players spawning in loop and tram, they could be pushing up through yard, they could be trying to take angles through the light rifle hull, so instead of keeping your body open to all of these available angles, by jumping up and isolating himself in cinema stairs, even though the player dies here, by dropping down from this angle, it's a way better position to take that fight and avoid shots from light rifle. And now he even comes up and he's in a sneaky position to take out this player as well with a back smack, taking your time. Remember to just strafe and take your time. Make sure you line up that hit perfectly, taking out that player. So beautiful plays from Frosty, making his way up to top yellow, and now he can push for that trip cap. So at this point, we're only 2 minutes into my analysis on how to play like Frosty, and it's already a long video. You guys know how it is. I like to be as thorough as possible with my analysis, give you as much detail as I can so you can improve more quickly. So I'm going to cut it off here for now with part 1. We'll be back with part 2 with more detail, more insight. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell beside the subscribe button. Stay tuned as we come back with more on how to play like Frosty.